Are you curious about the 5 key things to avoid in landscape photography to ensure you are not disappointed with your results? Early in my photography journey, I often wondered why my photos didn't look as good as I hoped. Does this happen to you too? Basic composition rules in landscape photography are key to creating visually appealing photos. We hope this video helps you avoid common mistakes in landscape photography. Let's dive into it. Number 1. Poor lighting conditions. Lighting is the foundation of landscape photography. Unlike a studio where we can control the light, we don't have that luxury in nature. Here are some basic tips on what we should or shouldn't do. Harsh midday sun. Midday sun is usually very intense and harsh. This hard light creates sharp shadows and strong contrasts. This type of light causes details in shadows to be completely black, while highlights are completely blown out and without any details.
Now let's take a look why noon is not the best time for taking landscape pictures. When photographing at noon, the sun is directly overhead. This causes dull colors and harsh shadows. Harsh shadows will destroy details and can reduce the aesthetic value of your photos.
So if possible, avoid shooting during the day. The best chance is to either get up early for sunrise or wait for sunset. Ideally, shoot about 30 to 45 minutes around sunrise or sunset. This is generally known as the golden hour. Any earlier or later the light becomes too harsh and unattractive in color. Light and shadow give photography its depth. We have all probably experienced those impressive moments in the mountains when, after sunset, the sky turns a vivid red. It's a stunning sight, so we shoot away only to be disappointed at home. The sky looks beautiful, but the landscape after sunset is unattractively dark gray and flat, losing the level depth it had before sunset when the golden light illuminated it. Tip: don't wait for the so-called last light. Instead, take multiple shots of the composition and decide later which time produced the most interesting scene. Check weather forecasts. There are many applications that can predict the weather. What are we looking for? First, whether it will be cloudy. If we are getting up for sunrise, you would like to see the sun, of course. But here is a tip. Look at the cloud layers. There are basically 3 layers: low, medium and high. Our goal is for no clouds in the low and medium layers on the day of shooting. High-level clouds are welcome. These are usually thin clouds called cirrus, which color beautifully at sunrise or sunset. Number 2. Poor composition choices. Basic composition rules in landscape photography are key to creating visually appealing photos. Composition is how different elements in the photo are arranged and how they lead the viewer's eye. What are the most important composition rules? The rule of 3 planes: foreground, midground and background. Every composition should have these 3 planes. The foreground serves as an entry into the photo. It can be interesting rocks, flowers, tree trunks, etc. The middle ground connects the foreground. It might be the sea, waterfalls, forest, a valley lit by the sun, etc. The background typically features mountains, the setting or rising sun, clouds, so on. The 3-plane composition is crucial for the photo's depth. These 3 planes, along with light and shadow, create a 3D effect. Tip: before each shoot, ask yourself what makes the foreground, midground and background in your composition. If you can't answer this question, the composition probably isn't ideal. Don't shoot everything. You might have experienced the overwhelming feeling when you reach a mountaintop and see a 360-degree view. You start to frantically try to capture everything. But be careful. The goal is not to shoot everything, but to have a clear composition with the three planes. The composition should focus on landscape elements that draw the viewer's eye. If there is too much in the photo, the viewer will not know where to look. Focus on one segment of the landscape with clear compositional elements. Natural framing. Naturally framing your photos helps the viewer focus on the main subjects. Try to include elements like dark clouds in the background, dark rocks in the foreground, tree trunks at the edges of the photo, and so on. Number 3. Incorrect exposure settings. Another key to successful landscape photography is the correct exposure settings. We dedicated a whole video to exposure parameters. You can find it linked above. However, we'll add a few more tips here. Choosing ISO and aperture is usually easy. We typically use ISO 100 and an aperture of f11. Simple. But what about the shutter speed? That's more complicated. In a typical landscape composition, we have both the sky and the landscape in the frame. The sky is bright, while the landscape is dark. At least, that's how our camera exposes it. If we set the exposure for the sky, the landscape is lost in shadows. If we expose for the landscape, the sky is overexposed. We can use graduated ND filters. These are dark at the top and light at the bottom, darkening the sky but not the landscape. However, this method is outdated. Graduated ND filters darken everything, and any scene with some complexity looks terrible. For example, the tops of trees are dark while the bottoms are light. Awful. Tip: sell your graduated ND filters and start using exposure bracketing. Don't know what is it or how to set it up? You are in luck. Our video dedicated solely to exposure bracketing answers these questions. Find it linked above. Number 4. Incorrect depth of field. Depth of field is another major element in landscape photography, influencing the areas of the photo that are in or out of focus. In landscape photography, it's often desirable to achieve the greatest possible depth of field so that all parts of the scene are sharp and detailed. What are the common mistakes with depth of field? Firstly, choosing too wide an aperture, typically low f numbers like f2.8, f4, f5.6 and so on. Low f numbers are commonly used in other photography disciplines such as portrait or wildlife photography, where the goal is to have the subject sharp, but everything behind or in front of it blurred.
Now let's take a look on how open aperture reduces depth of field in landscape photography. First, we set the aperture to f2.4. Our subject, the bush in the midground, is focused properly. Everything in front of it and everything behind it is out of focus. At f11, the entire scene is perfectly sharp.
In landscape photography, we use higher f numbers, ideally f11. But be careful, avoid f13, f16, f22, as these cause diffraction and degrade photo quality, so f11 and no more. What else can go wrong with depth of field? Focusing too close, resulting in a sharp foreground and midground, but a blurry background. We must focus far enough to ensure the background is sharp, as well as the middle ground and possibly the foreground. Tip: if the foreground is attractive, focus to ensure everything from the foreground to the background is sharp. A hyperfocal distance calculator can help. Conversely, if the foreground is uninteresting, like a plain meadow, focus further into the scene to blur the foreground, reducing its impact. Number 5. A tripod is essential. Yes, it's true, landscape photography requires a tripod. Some might tell you they shoot handheld. Let them. But if you are serious about landscape photography, you need a tripod. Longer exposure times or using exposure bracketing are impossible without a tripod, not to mention night photography. Speaking of which, don't know which tripod to choose? We can help with that. In one of our upcoming videos, we'll discuss choosing the right tripod for landscape photographers in detail. Stay tuned and subscribe if you don't want to miss that. We hope this video helps you avoid common mistakes in landscape photography. Let us know in the comments if you think we missed something or have a tip that helped improve your photography. Thanks for watching, and if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. See you next time.
By the way, have you heard that you can join us on our exclusive photography expeditions to Lofoten and Iceland? If you want to know more, check the link below.